Hello, everybody, and thank you for tuning in and listening. I am excited to give my Age Well Innovators of Tomorrow Certificate ethics presentation as part of the final assignment for the ethics course. And we'll talk about an ethical concern today that is maybe not arisen so much from my research, but certainly as a researcher and an issue that is quite hot, I guess, right now in the news media. So I'm excited to talk through a little bit of the issue and hopefully create a conversation. So, oops. What is the issue that I'm going to talk about today? Well, the issue is ChatGPT. I guess I put problem. By the end of today, maybe we could argue whether it's a problem or whether it's a solution from different perspectives. But certainly for the issue that we will talk about is ChatGPT, and maybe even further just artificial intelligence in general, which was certainly and has certainly been discussed in the Innovators of Tomorrow certificate. But ChatGPT is an online artificial intelligence content creator, I guess is what you could describe it in layman's terms. And so essentially, for those who are not familiar with ChatGPT, what you do is you log to or navigate to the website, and you can give the AI a problem or a prompt, I guess is the right word, or a question, or ask it to output some sort of text, and it will do so in whatever format you might ask it, whether you ask for a paragraph or a couple of sentences, it will lay that out. And so it's been very, very commonly discussed in the news since it was released in November of 2022. And we'll get into this a little bit later, but was free for the first 2 months of the release after the first 2 months, but has now moved to a subscription model, which again we'll discuss a little bit. So that's the overarching issue that I'll talk through today in terms of ethical considerations. So who is affected by this? I guess you could call it a product because it's now being monetized. But a lot of individuals, a lot of people in general, certainly those who use the product, those who use ChatGPT are affected. Students, researchers, and we'll talk about a little bit later the idea of those who may end up losing their jobs, so job displacement, and obviously then content creators. And so this list could go on and on and on. But from the perspective, again, of my perspective, maybe my bias, especially in the academic world, there's large implications for this artificial intelligence that has been created in terms of writing and creating content and plagiarism as well. So a lot of individuals who are affected, and obviously the effects of this product are not fully known or fully understood with it just being released in November of 2022. So just a couple of months ago, we're not completely aware or understood of what the future outlook might look like. So what are the material interests that might be present in terms of the ChatGPT? Well, as it stands, it's an online platform. It's an artificial intelligence. So from that perspective, not a whole ton, but certainly you would need some sort of a device to access it. So whether that's a computer or a phone or an iPad, a tablet of some sort, is needed to access this device, and then obviously the ability to communicate with it. So certainly a keyboard of some sort to be able to input what you're asking. But this is a cool video, a GIF, I guess, that I took from Microsoft, and this is a material interest that is going to be or looking at the utilization of ChatGPT. So let me see if I can get this to play. So this is where one of the things that we find when it comes to interacting with robots, which we know as AgeWell HQP is very common, and it's a very cool, the implications are very cool, but there is problems with trying to interact with a robot, which is hard because you have to speak the robot's language. But what ChatGPT does is it enables us to be able to communicate maybe a little bit better with a robot. So as you can see here, this is a drone, this is a robot, and utilizing ChatGPT are able to input what we're wanting. And as you saw there, instead of giving specific commands to a robot, we could say something like a person who has the inability to move around could say to a robot, warm up my lunch. And the robot would then, using ChatGPT, have the ability to find the microwave, to find the food, locate and move it and put it into the microwave and at the proper amount of time to warm it up. So there are some really cool implications to think about in terms of ChatGPT and some material interests. Whoops. What about the financial interests? What's the money that's driving this? Well, as you can see here, in 2022, the AI industry was valued at about $120 billion, and it's been predicted to increase quite substantially to about $1.5 trillion by 2030, so in the next 7 years. So it's a growing industry and is going to continue to grow. And this is going to play into ethical issues that we'll talk about as well. But by 2030, it's estimated that 15% of workers worldwide could be displaced by the AI industry. So again, very highly monetized industry, but on the flip side, could be meaning that individuals could lose their jobs. What ethical interests are present? There are quite a few. ChatGPT could enable the impersonation of individuals, and we've seen that, I guess, from an AI perspective in terms of photos and things like that. Loss of human interaction, so working with a robot instead of a human. Job displacement I discussed. Privacy and security concerns are of utmost importance. So if you were to give the ChatGPT any sort of personal information, where is that stored? How is that stored? Could ChatGPT then utilize that personal information that you gave in an output that it could give to somebody else? And who is responsible for ensuring these safeguards and the misuse, and things like informed consent? When you use and sign up for this, where are you consenting, or what are you consenting to? I signed up for it myself and wasn't very comfortable with the process of that informed consent. Intersectionality and EDI issues. So this will become apparent in a few slides, but the idea that ChatGPT is not able to empathize or not able to show that context or that background. And so for different issues or outputs, could ChatGPT be held socially responsible, or how is that being held socially responsible? And then equitable access as well is really important. So as I mentioned, they're now onto a subscription model that's, I think, $20 a month. And so for example, while I was preparing this presentation for the hour and a half, I tried to use ChatGPT just to experiment with it. I had used it before, but even just for the hour and a half that I was preparing this, I still couldn't log on to it because the system was busy. And then, of course, there's the notification that you could log on if you paid $20 a month. So equitable access certainly is important to consider. So what are the conflicts of interest? Well, I think that there are certainly conflicts of interest here. Key issues, I think, are obviously the ability to feel comfortable with AI. It's a fairly somewhat safe environment to do so. And I don't know, it'd be interesting to think through what were ethics considered during the ideation and creation of this technology, or was it something that we just created just because technology could get to that point? And so if so, what are the ethical considerations that were brought on at ideation? As I mentioned, material aspects, it could help individuals interact with their robots to improve their lives. And as mentioned again, the ethical empathy is lacking with this this problem, or this product. And so what is the resolution? Where are the benefits, and who benefits and who does not? And certainly from a positive benefit, individuals, companies who can use this as a scheduling assistant, a virtual assistant, instead of having to employ individuals. It's quite efficient in the way that it can respond. On the flip side, it does take time for it to respond, and the system can be busy. And certainly those who are looking for information and learning and training can go to this product and say, tell me about the technology industry in Canada, and you can get an output. And those who have interests in completing and using robots for completing tasks and AI, certainly it can be a pro. But on the flip side, the con is, of course, job displacement is going to be a very important issue. Lack of control over the response, potential bias or frustration from what comes with ChatGPT. No empathy, we talked about. Plagiarism is a huge ethical issue, in obviously from a university perspective, but any type of training or educational setting, being able to detect that, and the idea of written assignments is going to completely change, I think, in the educational field. And then, of course, use no personal information and informed consent. So I think that there's a lot to think through here, but certainly, hopefully, I've helped to unpack a little bit of the ethical issues or considerations for ChatGPT. And I don't know that we are at a resolution. I think certainly we're at a crossroads. There's obviously been some news articles recently that talk about maybe the halting of AI development until we can really think through what could happen and what are the implications. And so I don't think we're out of resolution currently, but I think that there are some things to think through. So thank you so much for listening to this presentation, and please reach out to me if you have any questions or concerns.